Hey, good evening. Hi, everybody from Jerusalem, where there's still no war, and we're all sitting here waiting. Yeah, I've decided I'm going to do a live today to say hi and to let you know that despite like everybody's like texting and wondering and like it's awesome like that everybody's in touch, but nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. So I just wanted to go down the list of things that are happening in a way. We've got, we're sitting here waiting for the much ballyhooed, what do you call it, revenge from Hezbollah after Israel said actually like openly like yeah, we targeted him and killed him. I think that was Tuesday night. And then a couple hours later, the number one of Hamas was actually killed in his guest room in Tehran. So Hamas, being the group, the terrorist organization that is running the Gaza Strip, right? So now this guy lived in Qatar, in Doha, because I don't actually know why he was exiled from Gaza. I don't remember why that happened, but in any case, he was living in Doha, and he's like a multimillionaire. And so he was. Why was he in Tehran? He went to Iran to attend the inauguration of the new president there. And so just a couple hours before his assassination, he was hugging the new president, and everybody was, all happy at this event. And you could see that Iran was basically like saying, yeah, we're going to continue to support you and everything. So a couple hours later, he was killed in his guest room. So now there's a lot going on. Like, first of all, Israel did not claim credit for that. Israel, like, there are a lot of assassinations. Everybody says Israel did it, but Israel doesn't claim credit for it. Israel doesn't say, they're just like no comment. And so this one was a no comment, whereas the one where they killed the number two in Hezbollah, they commented, they said, yeah, we did it. And this one was like, no comment, don't know what happened. So anyway, so it's like really a humiliation to Iran, because this guy was one of many international guests there. And he was even staying at some kind of like, not resort, but like complex, that it's like official, like government complex housing, something like that. And he was actually staying there. And so the question is, how was he killed? Like, so the initial reports were, I think it was in the New York Times, had the initial report that said that there was an explosive device that was planted in his room 2 months ago, and that it was activated remotely, with it was detonated from afar. And so then then Iran actually came out and said, according to its own investigations, that there was a missile shot from somewhere else into the room. So I think that today there was a little bit of that theory was coming apart. But it's not conclusive yet. And anyway, if you want to, it's going to depend on what Iran says. That's going to be the conclusion of the matter. So anyway, sitting here right now, by the way, if you hear noise in the background, this is like prime time here. Daniel's in the background singing with headphones on. So you might hear that. And I just want to forewarn you. And Lucas is walking around with a mustache that he drew on his face because he wanted to feel like what it would be like to be a man. So this is what's happening right now. But I thought today, anyway, let's get on. Let's talk about the situation. And I'll tell you what I do. All right, so here's the deal. So you wake up in the morning and you're like, quick, check the phone, and like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, we're still alive. Nothing happened. Okay. And then after that, you go, oh, should we send, now we only have, of the 3 kids, only one of them has camp or something, so we're like, should we send him? Is it safe to send him? And then, you see him in the house and you're like, yeah, we should send him because, like, what's he going to do if he's home? And if nothing happens, then we'll just be sitting here for nothing. So then you send him to school, and then you pretty much like, okay, then you just like go about your day, and you're like this all the time. Like, okay, let me check this group. All right, let me check that group. Okay. All right. So I'll tell you what I do, because I think that it's interesting to like go through like, how it is. Everybody's saying, oh, how are you coping? How's this out? And I'm like, actually, for the most part, I forget that there's something to worry about, because it's like a nice day and the sun is shining, and you just think like, oh yeah, there's nothing to worry about, right? And then you're like, oh yeah, wait, oh, let me check, and then suddenly, all right. So unfortunately, while there wasn't this big regional war that we were expecting, there was a terror attack today in the city of Holon, and two Israelis were killed. The terrorists who stabbed them, and by the way, there's still two people injured. The terrorist was shot pretty much right at the scene. And I have a friend that lives in Holon, so right away I was like, yeah, I messaged her and I was like, oh, hey, thinking like it's a big city, like what are the odds? And she was like, yeah, right out my window, right outside, like here's pictures from the scene, and she's sending me pictures from the scene. I was like, oh my gosh. So anyway, that made me wonder actually if one of the strategies of this multi-front retaliation that we're expecting is going to be local terrorism, local terror attacks. So that was one thought, actually. I think it was this morning. It's like, this was a long day, but I think it was this morning that Israel also said that they, oh yeah, it's right here. Hold on. Here's another one of these groups so the Israeli army said that there was a cell of terrorists from Tulkarem that was actually on its way. They were on their way to carry out a terror attack, and that the IDF aircraft struck this armed terrorist cell. And so that was the first thing that happened. And then the terror attack happened a little later in the morning. By the way, it was still early in the morning. All of this by like 9 a.m. Then after that, there was a rocket barrage from Gaza. Yes, they still have rockets in Gaza. And Israel said that it was fired from Rafah, which is the southernmost city in Gaza. So it spanned the entire length of the Gaza Strip, and the alarms were activated in Ashdod and further north. So that was actually pretty deep into Israeli territory. Now, on the other hand, I'll tell you what, the Palestinians are again being told to evacuate certain areas that they're in. And I just read a report from a Christian organization that is active in northern Gaza, and the people there are living in churches. A lot of them are going to the church compounds to live, that it's unsafe to stay in their homes, and that there is a severe lack of food up in the north. So, and then another thing that happened today was the Israeli army announced that it found another tunnel. I'm looking for the exact announcement. Another tunnel that you could actually drive cars in. Like, that's how big it was. And it connects to Egypt. Like, it's through the Philadelphia crossing, connecting to Egypt. So they said on the Philadelphia corridor, the troops located dozens of underground tunnel routes in the area. A 3-meter high tunnel was located among them. So they're in the process of destroying that now, so that can't be used. Okay. Now is about the time where I should check the chat, just in case. Okay. I always forget where it is on this interface. So now there's a lot of people who really, when the situation gets just like a little bit tense, they go all out. They make graphics announcing like war in the north, and I mean graphics that like flash and everything, just to keep everybody on the edge of their seat. I generally shy away from that because like I'm naturally shying away from that, but also like as a journalist, I find that the there's a little bit of it's not credible to be a warmonger. You have to actually know what you're. I mean, there's no need to exaggerate war. Like if there's war, then there will be. But you know, for now, we're sitting here waiting to see if there will be. So, well, I'll tell you what. While the typical fear and warmongers are going at it, like this is their field day, I have one of the other people that I follow who's not, and I was interested today. They're doing a lot of copy paste from different languages, like to read it really to read it faster. But now this guy is actually expressing concern. Now, when this guy who doesn't normally get all hyped up about war and freaking out and, you know, was taking everything like proportionally, when he wrote, he said, look, citizens, listen to me. If you don't need to go anywhere, don't. Stay close to your house and just be ready. And I was like, if that guy said it, okay, so maybe we should raise the alert level here in our house. So anyway, that to me, that got my attention, was that this guy is saying, he also said he tracks like all of he's an expert in what's happening in the north, in northern Israel, which is coming mostly from Hezbollah, which is based in Lebanon. So he's an expert in like the Lebanon, Syria, Iran, that kind of axis, and all the proxy groups because they also have proxies, militias. Did I say Syria? Also in Syria, also in Iraq. And of course, then there's the Houthis, and the Houthis are another group in Yemen, and they have been sending rockets and missiles, like ground to ground missiles, like from 2,000 kilometers south of here. They've been sending them to Israel sporadically. Some of them have made it barely into Israeli airspace, and then some have been. Oh, the Tel Aviv, Tony, the one that was in Tel Aviv, was that the Houthis?
Yes.
That was the Houthis. But it came from the water, didn't it?
Yeah.
Right? I gotta look that up. But there was a rocket that just unannounced, a drone that there was no warning, and it just came and landed in Tel Aviv, and one person was killed. And that is actually, I mean, it's shocking that there weren't more deaths actually in that one, because when a drone just comes into the middle of a city like Tel Aviv, which is like New York but with palm trees, then that's crazy. So anyway, this guy that I'm following, he mentions like a lot of attacks that happen that normally like I just kind of gloss over. But now what I'm noticing is there seems to be a lot of, random's a really inaccurate word, but a lot of attacks that are random to me in the context of we're waiting for, you know, an all-out war here. Random attacks in like Syria, in northern Lebanon, in different places. And there are many of them. Today, I read particularly a few. And I think my assessment, oh, thank you, Shmulek, it was a drone from Yemen. I was just trying to picture, all of a sudden I'm questioning myself, because I'm thinking like that did it fly all the way over Israel, or did it come from how did they shoot it? Like from what direction? I thought it came from the Mediterranean.
It was tracked by the IAF for 6 minutes before, and they failed to see it as a threat.
Ah, that's
I
right.
just sent you a
Wow.
video.
Thank you. Tony and Shmulik are keeping me up to date on the information. Okay. So the drone that came in from the Houthis was tracked actually, but it wasn't. That's right. It was considered like it was a human error. They said human error, and that's why they didn't activate the system, the alarm system. All right. So if I can assess that, in lieu of a big attack, because what they're expecting, this multi-front retaliation, which would be, from the fronts that I mentioned, from Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Yemen. There, what has been happening in the last few weeks is like a buildup of weapons going toward the locations near Israel's border. And so these attacks that we've seen in the last day, which are not necessarily claimed by Israel, but this could be a strategy of taking out the supply line, or as much as possible of the supply line, on the way to this escalation. So the other thing that gives me pause, like I said, it's a fairly nice and peaceful day. So you think, okay, you can't attack on a day like this. It's too nice. It's just too normal. Well, the Israeli airport, hold on a second. Let me message. It's Ruslan. I'm going to say hi. He said, how long until you're live? Okay. So the airport in Tel Aviv and the airport in Beirut, and actually the whose side are you on, these Islamic demons? Somebody just asked me. That's kind of funny. Beirut is everybody's being told to flee Lebanon. Like all of the foreign embassies, even Saudi Arabia just said, America and Canada said, I think yesterday, Saudi Arabia said today, to its citizens to get out of Lebanon. So there's lines and crowds at the airport in Beirut to get out of Lebanon. So it's happening also in Israel. And it's not because any country has said, my citizens, you should get out of Israel. They haven't really announced that. Like even the U.S. I haven't gotten an email from the U.S. embassy saying I should get out. But instead, it's the airlines that are canceling. So we've got almost no foreign airlines right now. I mean, Delta, United canceled. I think a whole slew of airlines canceled between last night and today. Even Ethiopia Airlines, I got to message Jeanette and see if she was supposed to come here today, actually, Sunday. So I have a friend who just tried to get out. Her flight was supposed to be today, but she moved it up to yesterday, and she had to go to get to Denmark. She had to go to Athens, to Rome, to Paris, to Denmark. Like that's what's happening. Like we just texted somebody today because we needed a key to the thing here in the building, and she's like, I'm stuck overseas. So there's thousands of people right now stuck overseas. They can't get back in. We have friends that were supposed to fly out that can't fly out now. So that's also a problem here. So that's another thing. I mean, maybe I could say that the airlines that are coming to and from Israel are overreacting. Perhaps it's them that, there's no foreign governments that are telling their citizens to get out of Israel. So why are the foreign airlines doing that? So it also leaves El Al at this great advantage, El Al and all the other Israeli carriers, where they jack up the prices like crazy, and because they're the only ones flying now. And if you want to get out, that's your only option, is to take an Israeli airline. They're pretty much the only ones that won't cancel unless in the worst case scenario, they'll cancel, and that's about it. So that brings me to that. Tony, what else? Shmulik, what else? What'd I miss?
Well, I think you've got it all so
I
far.
think it's just I just wanted to do an update because it's like I'm honestly like I really appreciate it, but like people are texting me all the time from overseas, like how's it going? What's happening?
A lot of people think
And
it's going to happen tomorrow. A lot
oh
of people
yeah,
think it's going to happen on Tisha B'Av. The attacks. Nobody really knows. They
right.
don't really know what the target
Oh
is.
yes, somebody was reporting today. The Jerusalem Post reported today that it's going to be on Monday. The attack's going to be on Monday. Like,
Right.
let me put that in my calendar. And then actually, a lot of other people are saying it's going to be on Tisha B'Av, which is like this Jewish, it's a date on the Jewish calendar that is synonymous with destruction, destruction of the temple, catastrophes for the Jewish people over the centuries. So it's only natural that it would happen on Tisha B'Av because that's just the track record. But so I was going to say it's not going to happen Monday because I did read that some American military official is going to be coming in to meet with his counterparts here in Israel on Monday. And then, so I'm like, they won't do it while he's here because then they'll drag the U.S. By the way, the U.S. is sending also, they're beefing up their fleet here at the Red Sea and also elsewhere. So the U.S. is also beefing up its military. I'm sure everybody is scrambling for a diplomatic solution. And I was going to say that that also would be a challenge though for these the ones that are planning this retaliation against Israel. And I don't know how often have they've considered it before, but that they would be that Arabs and Palestinians, Israeli Arabs and Palestinians, they share the same land and air that that the Israelis do. So it's like, how can you differentiate between sending a rocket over if it falls short of Jerusalem, it lands in Ramallah, or you know what I mean? Like it can land in Bethlehem. So they could be endangering also the Palestinians who they say that they are trying to
But I think
protect.
Iranian weapons are definitely a lot more advanced than.
All right, so the Iranian weapons, if they are precision guided, et cetera, then yes, they have a better shot at not hitting the Palestinians. But where the weapons, the rockets from Gaza are not precision guided, and that's. But in any case, the West Bank's not far from here. So, okay, so Dad says we heard that the U.S. is moving naval assets closer to Israel. Yes, that is true. Definitely in the Red Sea. I think also in the Mediterranean. And I think also, probably they're on alert in the bases in Iraq, I would say right now. So I think that's it. Anything else?
Well, is there also about isn't Netanyahu like just turned down another Iskat Hatufim?
Did he?
Well, I thought that they were trying to get one and he just refuses or just did not. I mean,
Just now.
No, I heard this morning.
It's day 303 since October 7th,
Right,
and
no
there is
close.
still there's 115 hostages. That includes living and dead hostages that are being held in Gaza, and there was a deal that seemed that was on the table. That seemed to be the closest deal that would have been to actuality to release some hostages and to have a ceasefire, and then the assassinations of last week. And so anyway, it looks like there might be another deal in the works, and an Israeli team headed to Cairo. So we'll see if that happens. I wonder who's negotiating for Hamas though, if Hania is not. But I'm sure there's another one. So in case, this is about a week old now. It's about Saturday of last week. This latest round started with a rocket from Hezbollah that hit a soccer field in a northern Israeli village. What? Not
I
that
heard
I
something
that
like
I,
that,
Israel says it was Hezbollah, and Hezbollah says no, it was not us.
Hezbollah saying that
It was the
probably
Iron
rocket,
Dome.
the Iron Dome that intercepted it, but
Okay.
something went rogue with
Okay.
the missile and landed it again. That's what
Disputed
there's
circumstances
everybody's
of
saying something different.
end result: 12 kids killed
Right.
on a soccer field. So anyway, that's where it started, actually, with the back and forth. And Israel said it assassinated the number two in Hezbollah. They said he was directly responsible. He was like the chief military commander. Okay, let's see what Shmulik says. No one really knows what is going to happen. Yeah, yesterday I read that the attack is planned for the 9th of Av, but I wouldn't take it seriously. The Iranians are going to hit whenever they are ready and think the effects would be the greatest. I don't think they take the Jewish calendar into their considerations. I agree, especially when this is a date that most secular Jews, which are the majority of Israelis, don't really commemorate. Yes, and at this point, you could say, like, before anybody was marking Tisha B'Av, which is 9th of Av, that they were, that before anybody was marking it, it would be like, if it happened on that day, it would be like this amazing coincidence that that it meant something. But these days, it's like, oh, what day is Tisha B'Av? Now we know that it happened, so let's plan it for that day. So it's like a little bit less, like biblical. You know what I mean? So yeah, I agree with you, Shmulik. I don't think I don't think there's any way to know. And I'm sure, there's the other thing, that this guy that I like here, who I'm following, he says that it's even not going to be like just this one big attack and then over, but that it'll probably occur in waves, and that it will be well timed and coordinated with the other groups. Whereas, like, on 7th of October, I don't know if Hamas was expecting everybody else to get involved right away and have all out war. But Hezbollah, they just did their little thing, like couple rockets here and there, and they didn't really come full force to the aid of Hamas at the time. So this guy thinks that this time that is what's going to happen. So anyway, well, Spoken Truth says that, did you read the Bible? I advise you to read it. You know what? I'm gonna go read it. I mean, I've read it, but I'm going to go read it again. That's for sure. And especially the Psalms right now, and especially for wisdom and to understand the times and the seasons, and to be like the sons of Issachar. So I believe that we really need to, the Iranians aren't going to announce it, and nobody's really going to get the scoop of when it's happening. So we really just have to really tune in to the Spirit of God, and to understand, and to believe, to hope that you can have the wisdom to discern the times, and when to pack a bag, and when to just keep your peace, and just hang out. So anyway, that's what we are doing right now. So when we wake up tomorrow, we'll check the phone, we'll pray, and then we'll check the phone, and then we'll decide whether or not to send the kid to such and such, and then we'll see what happens. So anyway, I'm going to try to come back more often, just to give an update, even if the update is that we're still here. So thank you so much for tuning in, and pray for us, and we're praying for you wherever you are too. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow.